My name is Michael Williams, and I'm going to give you 2 steps in this short video series that you can use to free yourself to be able to say what you want to say when you want to say it. Notice I use the word free yourself because that's exactly what it is. It's a feeling of freedom where you don't have to worry about getting stuck. You don't have to worry about not being able to say what you want when you want. You don't have to worry about scanning ahead, looking for words and letters that you might make mistakes on, avoiding certain speaking situations, not being able to get the jobs that you want, not being able to do the interviews, run the meetings, and become the person that you want to become because of your speech and confidence. You don't have to worry about that because you can free yourself from that by just listening to the things that I have to say in these video series. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to give you just 2 steps. And I know you're probably thinking, well, okay, Mike, how in the world can you give me 2 steps? I'm going to give you 2 steps. And these are things that you can actually do. 2 steps that you can use to free yourself to say what you want to say when you want to say it. So in this video, I'm going to give you the first step. And in the next video, I'll give you the second step. But in addition to giving you the steps, I'm also going to give you a tool that you can use to actually get there. So let's just get started. The first step that you can take to free yourself to say what you want to say when you want to say it is to reset your expectations. So let's just take a look at something here, if you'll follow me here. So the first step is to reset your expectations. Now, what do I mean by that? Many people believe and they think that if they could just get rid of this thing, and this thing that I'm talking about is this stuttering or stammering, if they can just get rid of it, if they can cure it, if they can go through a program, a 3-day, a 3-week, a 3-month program, just get rid of it once and for all, they won't have to worry about it again. All right? So they're trying to stop stuttering, they're trying to overcome it, they're trying to treat it and cure it. And what's happening is that they're frustrating themselves. They may experience some short-term results, but then what happens is, after a few weeks or a few months or whatever, it seems to come back. And that's because their expectations, the way that they were approaching this issue, was wrong, actually. So what I'm going to do is to give you a new way to look at this, a new way to approach this, a new set of expectations. So the first step is for you to reset your expectations. What should you reset them to? You reset your expectations to replacing your current speaking style and replacing your current mindset. Now, what do I mean by this? It's very simple. It's very simple if you think about it. You have a current way that you think. And let me give you an example. Has there not been times when you felt relaxed, you felt comfortable, perhaps when you were by yourself or with friends or family or whatever, and you spoke perfectly fluently, there was no problems at all. So physically and even mentally, you're capable, right, of speaking smoothly, fluently, confidently, clearly, right? But there are other times, perhaps when you were under pressure with certain people, right? Maybe people of authority, maybe people that you don't know, or when you had to say certain things like introduce yourself or explain something, where all of a sudden you weren't able to say the things that you wanted to say. Okay? So what we want to do is we can't go in and undo that. Right? We can't go in and undo that because that kind of speech represents a certain mindset, a certain series or set of beliefs, a certain series or a set of memories that you have around introducing yourself, saying your name, saying certain words or letters, right? Speaking to certain kinds of people. That's a memory. And when I say memory, I mean there's actually a neurological pattern, or pathways that's been developed in your brain that says, whenever I get in this situation, whenever I have to say this, this is what's going to happen. And that's what you do. So you even start expecting it to happen. You say, well, I know I'm going to do this. We can't go in and undo that. It's there. But the good news is we can go in and we can build a new set of neurological pathways, a new set of connections, new memories of you speaking well in those situations. So what we're actually doing is we're replacing your current mindset, your current beliefs, and your current speaking style with a new one. Reset your expectations to replacing, not getting rid of, not stopping, replacing it. Let me just give you a common example. You're going to be more successful if you focus on what you want and don't focus on what you don't want. Don't focus on what you're trying to avoid. You're going to be more successful in life in general if you keep your mind focused on what you want. So, here's an example. Let's just say that you don't want to think about a red sports car. I know you've heard this before, right? But I want to break this down for you. You don't want to think about a red sports car. So what tends to happen? What tends to happen is you end up thinking about a red sports car. So I say, don't think about a red sports car. You end up thinking about a red sports car. Why is that? Why is that? And what does that have to do with your speech? Well, in order for you to not think about something, your brain has to go out and find a picture, find an image, find a sound, find an emotional impression of whatever it is you're saying not to focus on, right? You say, don't focus on this. The brain has to know what this is in order to not focus on it, right? It can't just not focus on anything. You're saying, don't focus on this. So the brain says, what's this? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? So it goes out and it finds whatever the this is, and then it fixates, it focuses on that very thing. Because you're saying, don't focus on this. So it's saying, okay, what is the this? Okay, here's the this. Now let's try not to focus on it. And what ends up happening is you actually end up, excuse me, focusing on the very thing that you don't want to focus on. And when that happens, for example, if you say, I don't want to get stuck, I don't want to stutter, I don't want to get stuck on my name, your brain says, well, what does that look like? What does that sound like? What does it feel like? It feels like this. Okay, that happened to us before, and we don't want to do that. So you actually end up doing the very thing you don't want to do, which is getting stuck, saying your name, or getting stuck on a certain letter. Does that make sense? Right? That's why that happens. So rather than focusing on what you don't want, what you have to do is focus on what you do want. So I want to be able to, or I will say my name smoothly and fluently. I love saying my name, or I love introducing myself. I love explaining. You focus on the mindset. I feel great when I speak. You focus on the mindset, and you focus on the speech that you do want, right? Now, what else must you do? You also need to be able to actually physically change the way you speak, right? So we'll talk about that a little later. So it's not just changing your mindset, it's also changing the way you speak, replacing your current speaking style. One of the things that I find with virtually all of my clients, 95 to 98% of them, is there's some aspect of their speech where they feel like they need to hurry, they need to rush, where they're speaking fast, they're cutting their words off, so they're not taking their time. I'm not talking about dragging out your speech like this. I'm not talking about speaking like that. But there is an aspect of being able to control your speech and slow it down. Now, mind you, ultimately, where we want to get to the place where you're not thinking about speaking at all. You're just speaking. It's a natural process. Your brain doesn't want to focus on the mechanics, on the process of speaking. It wants you just to communicate your intentions, your ideas, information. It doesn't want to think about speaking any more than it wants to think about the mechanics of walking. So that's where we're ultimately trying to get. But initially, what we're going to have to do, just like learning any new skill or habit, we are going to have to focus on some of the mechanics, but not the mechanics you want to avoid. We want to focus on the mechanics that you actually want to achieve, which is smooth speech. Okay? So one of the things that we focus on is not just slowing down, but speaking with more of a rhythm, extending your words, maintaining airflow, right? Speaking with the flow. We'll focus on those things. That's what you want to focus on. So the first step is to reset your expectations from what? Reset them from trying to stop, get rid of, cure, do away with, overcome stuttering or stammering. Reset your focus to replacing it with a new way of thinking, a new mindset, and a new way of speaking. Okay. What's the second thing that we want to look at? And let me just move over here and share with you that the second step, right, which I'm just going to introduce now, is to immerse yourself in the process. The second step is to immerse yourself in the process. So what we're actually going to do is I'm actually going to, in the next video, I want to talk about what it means to immerse yourself in the process, and also share with you a tool that you can use to do this. So I just want you to be thinking about, what does it mean to immerse myself in something? And what does this have to do with speech? So what I just did is I gave you one step, the first step, to freeing yourself to be able to say what you want to say when you want to say it. In the next video, we're going to look at how to immerse yourself. That's the second step, how to immerse yourself.